I'd like to open the May 10th, 2021 special Inland Wetlands Commission meeting. We can start by introducing the folks on the phone. I am Ken Stevens, Chair. Peter
Smardak, Vice Chair.
Patrick
Parafort, Secretary.
Gregory.
Greg Johnston, Commissioner.
Laura.
Laura Ferguson, Commissioner.
I don't think you have any alternates on this evening. Kathy.
Kathy Galvis, Recording Secretary.
David.
Dave McCollum, in the Wetlands Agents.
Thank you. We have two items for deliberations this evening. The first one is 64 Worcester Street. Construct a new 7-unit multifamily building as part of a 12-unit multifamily housing project with driveway and parking areas, stormwater management system, and associated site improvements within the regulated upland review area. We accepted the application on November the 23rd of 2020. We've had subsequent multiple public hearing sessions, and we closed the public hearing on April the 26th, 2021. And we are here this evening to see if there are any further questions or concerns of the commission, and see if we need to investigate this any further. And David, did you have anything you wanted to add before the commissioners start?
Sure, and I'll keep my comments brief. At this point, as Ken mentioned, the public hearing is closed, so we're not going to be taking any more comments in the form of new information from either myself, our consulting engineer, Barry Parfit, and Joe Hausman at Wright Pierce, or anybody from the applicant's team that would so far have been Mr. Trinkus, the applicant's engineer, their attorney, Mr. Neil Marcus, and their soil scientist, Jim McManus. At this point, all we are doing and the intent of tonight's meeting is to discuss everything that we have received, everything that we've reviewed in terms of where we would go for either a resolution of approval or for a resolution of denial. We could have squeezed this in at either our last meeting or at the coming meeting later this month, regular meetings that is, on the 24th of May. But I thought it would have been a disservice to try to cram everything that we've done. We've gotten an extensive amount of material to review here. And I think it would have been a disservice for us to try to squeeze that all in. So tonight, the intent is just to discuss that material, and then for me to have a consensus from you by the end of tonight's meeting as to whether I draft a resolution of approval or resolution of denial for the meeting on the 24th. I don't have any other comments to add other than that I'm here to answer your questions and help facilitate discussion. So with that, Ken, I give the floor back to you.
Thank you, David. I did have the opportunity to go through the information provided, and I myself am satisfied with the information that's been provided. I don't have any additional questions. I wanted to make sure that the rest of the commissioners were of the same opinion and hear from them as to whether they had any additional questions or if there was points of discussion they wanted to cover this evening.
Greg Johnston, Commissioner. No, we've gone over this. We've beat the horse. The horse is dead. Let's make a decision.
Thank you, Greg. Patrick, I know you had quite a bit of interest in this project and a lot of questions posed.
I'm comfortable with the information they provided. I did ask for one bit of information that they did not provide. I asked if they could present feasible and prudent alternatives. They did not, and nor did they mention it afterwards. So don't know if there are any or they couldn't find any or what that is, but that was not, unless I missed it, I did not hear anything about that after I requested it.
Pat, let me just nip that one in the bud, and just kind of dive into that a bit. When it comes to a feasible or prudent alternative, there has to be a specific or direct adverse impact that is shown to a wetland or water course, either on the property or off the property, that would be shown as part of what is being proposed with this project.
Okay.
The regulated activities for what they're shown on the proposed site plans, the activity is limited to regulated upland review area.
Correct.
And I believe the applicant had reiterated that several times through their presentations. We can add conditions of approval, that would perhaps, present, not present, that's not the right word, that can otherwise address that comment in terms of if a design is compromised or something to that effect. I don't want to get into that now because I think it's further to hear the other commissioners' comments, but I just wanted to address that for you.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Laura, did you have any comments? You've caught up on the recordings, I presume. You're on mute, Laura.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I'm okay.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
No, we're all good. I was in most of the discussions anyway. I think I might have missed a little bit at the regular meeting last time because I called in late, but I'm all good.
All right. Hey, David, I think the commissioners have all expressed their opinion on where we sit.
So let me just try to gauge this formally, Ken, and I don't mean to be so deliberate about this, but is this a consensus of the commission that we're seeking to favorably view this application in terms of for an approval?
Just to be clear, I think you have to vote on that. I believe it will be approved, but
No. This isn't a vote. This is just
Okay.
for a consensus. So is there a consensus to possibly go in the direction of an approval, or is there a consensus to go towards a denial?
My opinion, for what it's worth, is that we go for a resolution of approval.
and I will more than likely be voting the other way, and I may be standalone. So
No, I will be right there with you, Patrick.
I gotta go on the approval side.
So, I can kind of describe or explain why I am towards
I've
the.
asked what violations of the inland wetlands regulations that you feel the applicant is out of line with.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
What's the rationale for
Oh, okay.
your position based on the state of Connecticut and
Yep.
town of Bethel inland wetland regulations?
Yep. So looking at inland wetland and water cost regulations, I believe it's 4.4 considerations for this decision in carrying out the purpose and policies of the CGS sections 22A-36 to 22A-45 inclusive, as may be amended, including matters relating to regulating, licensing, enforcing the provisions thereof. The commission shall take into consideration all relevant facts, circumstances, including but not limited to, and it lists a bunch of them. My concern there is prevent flooding. I believe I know for a fact there is current flooding that occurs there from this water course that's there. I believe with the information provided, it's just going to get worse. While it may just be not instrumental or huge worth, it will just affect it as well. I think it's an opportunity to improve the conditions that are there right now, and they should be doing so. If they're going to be building there, they can't just, or should not be allowed to just be, well, it's pre-existing flooding and we're going to leave it that way. I think what's happening is going to increase that flooding, and I'm not talking downstream. I'm talking right on the road there. I know it floods. I believe it's going to continue flooding. I would have felt probably otherwise if they had developed some sort of maintenance schedule for that water course. They, at first, when I had asked, they said the water course is theirs. After I'd asked, they had decided, well, no, it's not ours. It's part neighbors, part ours. Even so, they should be working with the neighbor to develop some type of schedule or something. I mean, simply put, I mean, if it's a consideration, maybe that's one way to approve it, but I'd like to see some type of thing set where they will take care of that and keep the inlet of that pipe fully open. Otherwise, you're going to have back flooding as well. Again, that should have been done, was asked for. They did not feel it was warranted. 44-C, and this, Dave, is what I referred to before. Alternative to the proposed action, including consideration alternatives which might enhance environmental quality or have less detrimental effect, and which would be feasible, attain the base objectives of the activity proposed in application. Consideration should include, but is not limited to, alternative of required actions of different nature, which would provide similar benefits with different environmental impact, such as a different location for activity. Again, I forget how many units are going in there. I would like to have seen if there was a way to, even with the same units, construct it differently. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I would have liked to have seen some other type of proposal. 2 reasons. Storage of the snow. I believe that's a safety concern there, as well as possible flooding close to the stream. Having cars move to, where they're highlighting it, they basically, the tenants have to come out and move their cars every time it snows and then move them back when the plow leaves. Also, big consideration, water from the hill to, and I don't know which direction it is, there's a hill there. They're basically putting a gutter system there and just putting it right into the stream. They basically stated it's fine, that's where it went anyway. That's not correct. It went over impervious soils, so not all of it would reach the stream. They're just taking it and transporting, put it right in the stream. Concern of the amount of water coming off the property is a concern of mine. Again, I'm not an engineer. I guess it's engineer basically said in the last meeting he does not agree with their calculations. That's a concern of mine. 44-3F, the character and degree or interference with safety, health, or reasonable use of the property, including the abutting or downstream property, which would be caused or threatened by the proposed activity or the creation conditions which may be there. So again, you're going to be adding water into the stream. You're going to be clogging it up. It may be gated by the pipe. Again, the pipe is a town concern, may be gated by the pipe, but everything before it, it's going to back up because of the additional water going in there and the flooding that it's going to occur. And again, the feasible and prudent alternatives, which is on 44.
Okay. This is where I'm going to jump in again, and Pat, I may have you just bear with me in doing so, because that was a lot of material to try to digest. Yep. I thought with what I had mentioned earlier, you have to have a direct adverse impact to a regulated wetland area shown for an alternative to be included as part of an application.
And I believe there's a impact to.
Is it direct?
Huh?
Is it direct?
Yes, I believe by adding water into the stream, you're going to have an effect for all the prior to it, and as water going after it, which is why I had asked to see.
So this is where we
safety concern.
This is where we go into the engineer's comments, and I do not want to incorrectly try to paraphrase what either the applicant's engineer or what our engineer has said. I believe that not, I believe that what the, or actually shouldn't even matter about what my comments, the commission should consider that when we had Mr. Parfit, our consulting engineer from Wright Pierce, come and discuss this application and be present for the commission's questions. That there were some disagreements with some of the calculations that were performed, but not for the stormwater management system that was proposed. That is the most important element in terms of the water that is on site that the commission should consider. And that boils down from the areas that are impervious that are being generated as part of the proposed development, which for the most part, they stem from the new impervious roof that would result from the structure, and the areas that are going to be converted from what would otherwise perhaps be more pervious than a driveway, but not a driveway itself. So in other words, you're having a driveway, areas where it's impervious be added to the site. That's that, along with the other existing impervious areas, is what the stormwater management system is processing, and it has to do so. It's rated for a 25-year storm. That was, that's what our consulting engineer reviewed, and that is what the applicant's engineer designed it for. Like I said, if the commission has concerns about its function, what I would advise that is that you can have the applicant provide, you can make it a requirement that they provide a monitoring report for rain events where you have an accumulation of an inch or greater, whatever the commission so feels, to make sure that the stormwater management system is functioning the way it should be for the storms that it's designed for, and the storms where it has the function where water goes towards the water course. There are no, let me rephrase that. The commission has, and the commission can craft ways to address any concerns that they would have that the applicant has not done so already with conditions of approval. And this is where I go into the maintenance. All we're looking at is what's being created by the development itself. I understand that there was testimony that was provided during the application where there were concerns about activities that were occurring for upstream, for lack of a better word. Those are not relevant to what we are considering. We are focusing on the site. We have to be mindful of what's being created from the site. If you want to have the applicant craft a maintenance plan, regardless of which extent of the stream they own, whether it's one bank, whether it's both, whether it's for one section of their property, whether it's not, the commission has every right to do that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so I'm looking at the effect that the activity has on that water course. I had requested such a maintenance plan, and they did not come back with one. They would not do it. So I'm looking at it also. Our engineer said he does not agree with all the calculations that their engineer came with, and I'm looking at the amount of water that's bypassing the normal process getting to the stream. Now it's all going to the stream. Some is going to detention, absolutely. But the one by the hill is coming out to daylight and going right into the stream.
Okay,
I think this is an opportunity. There is flooding going on there now. I think this application will just agitate that situation. I think, you know, I think they need to improve what's there in order to increase the activity that they're looking to increase it to. I think by them doing this, they have an obligation to improve the system that's there right now. Otherwise, it's just going to make it worse.
this is where you have to codify or make sure some of these concerns are codified in writing, Pat. You know, if the project engineer had come up with a comment to that effect of what you were saying, and the applicant's engineer was not willing to address it, absolutely.
So
You would have a grounds for what you've said, but I do not think our engineer, their language was to that extent, and I'd
So-
be happy to, go ahead.
So Dave, it's a fact that it floods. Are they not responsible to correct that situation, or they improve on the lot and try to put more units in there that will affect it greater?
No, I would, so are you asking, are they responsible to correct a current condition regardless of
On their
what's
property,
going on there now?
on their property, yeah. So they could go ahead, put units in there, which the units I have no issue with. The amount of water going into that stream, it's an issue. The town knows it's an issue, that it's floods. They're documented somewhere in the town how much it floods. So they're not responsible to improve on the condition, even though they are using that stream or water course to remove additional water from their property.
No, so that this is
Hey,
how.
David,
Go ahead.
May I?
Yes.
Just to piggyback off of Pat, I'm not concerned with them improving it. My concern is that, like Pat says, we know it floods. We know it's an issue already. And now we're adding water to it by paving basically everything there. You're leaving no lawn, no, nothing. It's that water is right now soaking into the ground and slowly maybe working its way over there. Now we're looking at just paving everything.
This
So
is where,
we're adding water. I don't care what their retention system and all this stuff that you're adding water to an already flooding, a flooding issue.
let's go to the response comments that were provided by the applicant. And I think these stem from the applicants, from Mr. Perifort's questions during the regular meeting in March. I could be mistaken. I'm going to try to find those here if you don't mind. There are the comments from. Okay, those are the comments.
My recollection was, even, and it may be incorrect, is that based on the retention system they're installing, the runoff is actually being reduced rather than increased.
Correct. This is where I want to.
I just don't see that as a possibility when we've basically taken a huge lawn and paved it.
This is where we have to refer to the applicant's response to the commission. This is why I'm trying to find that for you, Pat and Greg. Just 1 second, please.
I mean, I've spoken to the fire department, who has been along that corridor there and pumped out people's basements multiple times because of the flooding. So I just can't see in my good conscience voting for something like this to go through.
Okay. Thank you for bearing with me, everybody. Okay, so these are the comments from Mr. Trinkus dated April 10th, 2021, And I think this first comment talks into, or tries to, or its intent is to address the commission's concerns with the impervious area. The impervious area on the site is increasing with the proposed development. This occurs on any site which is developed. The runoff generated by the increase of impervious area is being addressed by the stormwater management system. All runoff generated by a rainfall event of 1 inch or less in 24 hours will be directed to an offline water quality unit, which is a component of that stormwater management system, which will reduce TSS loads exceeding the CTDEP goal of 80%, as well as trapping hydrocarbons and metals attached to sediment particles. Runoff from the water quality unit and runoff from storm events greater than 1 inch are directed to the underground detention system. The design of the stormwater management system is following the town of Bethel requirement that a 0 increase in the peak rate of runoff be provided for the 25-year rainfall event. This requirement has been achieved for this project. Furthermore, for the increase of impervious area directed to the stormwater management system, the channel protection volume, in parentheses CPV, in parentheses per CT DEP 2004 manual, in parentheses, is met. The CPV requires that the post-development peak rate for the 2-year event is reduced to 50% of the pre-development peak rate for the 2-year event. In this case, the post-development peak rates would need to be reduced from 1.3 cubic feet per second, which I believe is what that stands for, to 0.65 cubic feet per second. The post-development peak rate for the 2-year event is being reduced from 0.9 cubic feet per second to 0.4 cubic feet per second, which meets the CPV standard. I don't know how much clearer you can get from that. The project engineer is, go ahead.
That's the applicant's engineer?
Yes.
Yes, that's why we have our engineer review it as well. And I specifically asked at the last meeting if he agreed with the calculations, and he said he does not agree with the calculations.
Okay, so this is where we
The
go
notes that I
into.
couldn't find it.
So this is where we go into the last comments from our engineer. Stamp comments. Method of ledge removal. Site
And I
features to
would-
remain.
I would agree that they shouldn't have to improve or modify the stream if they were not using it to remove water from their location. Let's say they had another stream or something, but since they are utilizing it as a water course for removal of their water, I think they need to address the issue and make as much possible improvement as they can.
Okay, so this is what we're looking at here. This is Wright Pierce's comments
Yep.
dated March 15th, 2021. These are the comments that we have from Barry Parfit and from Joe Hausman, our consulting engineers. A lot of these comments, I think they're housekeeping. Some of them go into cut and fill, some of them go into the area of snow storage that we mentioned. But then we go into the storm water management system comments, which I think is what Pat is trying to discuss. That all of that from what we see here, January 20th, the stormwater calculation review is not complete. And then Mr. Trinkus made a response that said, based upon a field inspection prior to designing the site, the offsite area to the west above the garage is a plateau about 20 feet west of the property line, which does not drain to the subject property. This area was observed 3 times during rainfall events, and no runoff was observed flowing towards the subject property from this area, whereas runoff was observed on the slope of the subject property. Therefore, the offsite area was not included in the drainage analysis. As stated in the public hearing on January 25th, there is a curtain at the base of the retaining wall and/or ledge cut to collect any runoff from the area between the building and wall/ledge cut, and any water from the small slope area above the retaining wall/ledge cut. Any water in this drain is conveyed via a 6-inch PVC pipe to discharge onto a pad of fieldstones above the drainage ditch. So there was nothing in that, in those comments, and I think if I were to read through the rest of comment 13, you would come to the same conclusion. There's nothing in that comment that refers to anything about the stormwater management system's function
So-
being compromised.
Dave, with two things on that comment, the area, and I'm not sure what they're talking, the area, which area I should say, that does not flood. I know they observed it 3 times. If they're talking about the area by the street, I've observed different,
No, they are not.
and that's the
this-
area that I'm referring to as flooding. The area with the 6-inch pipe, that's the area I'm referring to, not even going into a detention basin. It's going, instead of going above ground on pervious soil, where with opportunity to go into the soil, it's not. It's going directly into the stream. It comes the light or the pad right before the stream and goes directly into the stream. So there's no mitigation on that water there through a detention basin.
Okay, so this is,
Even if it's not a safety concern, where they're putting the snow removal doesn't go in the retention system, it goes directly in the stream as well.
okay, well, so this is where the commission has the ability to craft conditions
Mhm.
that can specify, based on concerns for direct impacts to the wetlands, where snow can or cannot be placed.
And this is where we went into the prudent feasible. That's, I would have liked to seen. Again, this is, I would feel much better if I had seen that prior, because there is nowhere else on the property to do it. In fact, they're moving cars, and if that's how they want to do it, so be it. But they're moving
So,
cars to place
so,
that
so,
there.
so, so
That's
my,
how tight limited the space is. And I mean, unless parking, and I don't know the zone, unless they don't need those 2 parking things and eliminate those 2 parking spaces somewhere else to get it away from the stream where it would go through the detention basin.
so this is where I would say, if that concern still exists, a condition of approval could be crafted to say, snow storage, any snow that is displaced during snow events must be carted off site, plain and simple.
All right, that could be, and then great. And like I said, with the maintenance of the stream bed or water course bed, I would have feel a lot better if they had come back and said, yes, we will maintain, making sure the outlet pipe is free of debris. And
So,
in a reasonable amount of time or level or something like that. But that was asked several times and they would not agree to it.
so these are words that I perhaps should have mentioned to you sooner. And I think that the commission as a whole will recall instances where we've used this before, and that would be a monitoring report. This
Okay.
is something where this is a report which could be crafted to have a number of things reviewed and given updates to the commission, which would be the condition of the intermittent drainage ditch, and something to the effect of this is how we've been handling snow events.
So
Go ahead.
So like I said, my concerns are improving what's there now because they're using it. If that could be crafted in a condition, they are using that stream. It does flood. I see it all the time, it floods. If that could be crafted in approval, maintaining that water course, if that could be, that's one of my concerns. If that could be crafted in the approval, and the snow, if that could be crafted, I may feel otherwise, but I would not vote on it until I was able to see all the conditions.
Okay, well, this is why we are having this meeting.
Mhm.
This is the exact reason why we are having
Right.
this meeting, for me to have an opportunity to discuss conditions you would like to have me craft, or things that you would like to have the applicant address as part of any decision that the commission makes. So if you're saying that this is something the applicant should address in a resolution that we prepare, I'm happy to do that.
And I don't know if it's possible to clarify. My understanding, again, is I'm not an engineer. I just have to go by life and what I see. I see it flooding there. I hear our engineer saying he does not agree with the calculations. This is something he said, which concerns me greatly. If we were able to clear that with the engineer, I would feel better with those other stipulations. Because right now, I'm not comfortable. I don't feel that there's zero increase
Okay.
with that 6-inch pipe, not going through any type of detention, not going through any pervious soil or anything like that, just going right into that stream.
Well, if the commission has a concern about the location of a discharge for water that you're describing, you can have the applicant provide such a feature to address that. That could be in the form of, I'm not sure how you would have that be addressed, as I am not an engineer myself. But I can't imagine there would be a design element that would escape the applicant's ability to provide for the commission's intents to review this application.
Right. I know the flooding that occurs there. You know what we're adding to, or excuse me, the developers adding to it at this point. They're using that intermittent water course or stream, whatever you want to call it, as a mechanism to remove water from their property. My opinion is going to affect downstream and upstream, which does flow into water wetlands, but
Okay.
affect downstream and upstream. I'm not saying it would have a negative effect on the downstream wetlands, just to be clear. I'm more worried about the flooding that's going to occur by putting more water and no maintenance to the river, to the stream, or what do you call it?
Okay. So let's
It will clog. I know for a fact it will clog. I literally take out 5 to 10 yards of sand, or I used to, out of the culvert that ends on my old property. So I know it will, without any type of maintenance thing, clog.
So let's go to the soil scientist report, or their comments. These are dated April 4th, 2021, and I'm taking an excerpt from this. And I quote, "Moreover, it is JMM's, that is Mr. McManus's, opinion the proposed stormwater quality renovations measures are appropriate and will be effective as to not result in an adverse impact to the on-site intermittent water course, as well as any downstream wetlands and or water courses. The reason for this conclusion is twofold. First, the proposed use of the ADS water quality unit model number 3620WQA will effectively treat the stormwater runoff generated by the proposal. Second, the use of 6 rows at 7 units each of Coltech Recharger 180 units will capture overflow from the ADS unit and effectively control the peak runoff before discharge to the on-site ditch intermittent water course. As shown in the stormwater management report, the net change in peak runoff during the 25-year storm will be 0.0.
Okay, so that is their engineering then.
This is the soil scientist.
Okay, so just so, again, I only go by engineer and experience. Having built a house, 5 houses down from this, I have the exact same system, double the size for one house, not 7 units, one house, double the size, and that was not allowed to be drained into the stream because of worry of flooding when it was built.
Okay, I don't want to introduce.
So I'm just going by experience, and again, with our engineer saying he's not comfortable with some of the number, or not, I shouldn't say comfortable. He wasn't in full agreement with some of those numbers. My concern again is the flooding concern.
Okay, so let's go
Again, I
back.
don't want to I don't want to, take up the whole meeting. I think everyone knows, everyone has to decide from themselves.
No, but this
Being a huge concern.
I appreciate you discussing these
Yep.
points, Pat, because it shouldn't just be for your information or for your reference that we go through these materials. It should be for the entire commission,
Right.
first and foremost. So we go back to the comments that Wright Pierce has provided, dated March 15th.
Yep.
If there was a comment in or from Wright Pierce that said, I do not have confidence in the stormwater management system with the fact that the property will not flood, they would have provided that as a blatant statement.
And just to be clear, he did not say he doesn't have confidence in it by any means. He did not say that.
And this is
Not agree with
something you
all
have.
the calculations. That's all he said.
Well, right. And this is where if you had something from our project engineer that said he did not have confidence, you could work with that. You could say this is something that the engineer is saying for the record.
Right.
But since the commission does not have that, you have to act with the information that they've given, in that there's no comment that outright says the stormwater management system does not work. So there may be some discretion, if you will, if that word's not going to get taken out of context, with the drainage areas that are being used and reviewed.
Right.
But in the grand scheme of things, it did not compromise our engineer's ability to say that this design would not work. And he did not have confidence in it.
You know what? Again, my biggest fear here, obviously, is again maintenance of the thing, the stream bed or whatever, and flooding.
Okay.
It'd be worked into approval some way. I'd be more inclined to do so. I think everyone who has it on their property needs to maintain this, and if you're making improvements on it, it should, or using it, you should have to make those modifications. So again, if depending on how it's written, I may be inclined in that time to approve, or I may not.
Well, this is where it's entirely in the commission's ability to craft that language.
Yep.
It shouldn't be me that crafts that language.
No, and that's what I mean. Depending on how that's crafted or worded, again, if those addressing the concerns that I have with the flooding and the maintenance and the safety of the snow removal and the added snow going into it, I may feel otherwise. I just saying how I feel with, again, knowing the property, knowing the flood that occurs, saying, that it doesn't occur on paper, doesn't change 20 years of experience, with it. So I've always said there's field and there's engineer. I know what the field does. I'm not an engineer. I just know what the effect is on the field.
And let me be clear, Pat.
Yep.
I'm not trying to dismiss your experience at all.
Oh, not at all.
I'm not trying to dismiss any concerns that you may have. I'm just trying to say, there are the language that you want to use for either method of decision you want to go with. It falls on you as a not you solely, but the commission as a whole. So if our discussions tonight, ultimately lead towards us having some kind of maintenance schedule as part of a condition, or something to address the location of where snow is stored, whether it's on or off site, or something else that's of more substance to that effect, tell me how you want it to be written.
Okay.
I would say this is where commissioners who have been serving on in the wetlands for some time can perhaps draw on monitoring reports or maintenance schedules, as I've mentioned. Newer commissioners, I guess in this case, Craig, we have used monitoring reports and maintenance schedules as mechanisms for which the applicant has to report back to us with an update saying how something is working or how something is not working. And, this is where you can have them have to provide X in that instance or Y or something else to that effect. I'm not saying that you have free abundance to write what you want, but I shouldn't say that way, but within the scope of concerns for direct adverse impacts to the wetlands, you can craft your conditions to protect that. That's ultimately what I'm trying to say. Peter, you had your hand raised. I'm sorry, I keep rambling. Let me address your question.
Hi, David, this is Peter, Vice Chair, and it's because I'm personally removed from that area. I don't live in that area. I don't personally observe the current backup of water in that ditch and that trench system. There's a number of things that you could say here that would make a difference to the application or to the applicant or even to us in making a decision. You could say, okay, we need the town to clean out that pipe that's underneath the road. So that's a town problem. You could also say, all right, for the people that live along that basin there where the water runs through, what's to stop them from taking personal responsibility for cleaning that out? And again, I don't live in that area, and it's their property and they can do what they want with it and say the town owns it. But looking at what the overall application was put in, and the engineers, both theirs and ours, that looked at it, and there being an addition of a retention basin way of collecting the water and keeping it from flowing freely into that stream. And again, I'm citing toward the approval of the applicant because I think they've taken a lot of steps to alleviate whatever problems or issues we brought up to them. And it seems, again, to me that in some circumstances, we're going a little overboard in the way of personal responsibility as well. And that's just my personal opinion, because as I look, again, I'm looking at it from an objective point of view and looking at the facts and the figures that I have to look at that are on paper, as opposed to actually living in that situation. So I just had to put my 2 cents in on that.
Thank you, Peter. That's exactly what this tonight's meeting is meant to solicit from everybody. So if there are any comments anyone else has, Ken, I'm not sure if we've heard everything from you. Laura, you're more than welcome to weigh in. Greg, if you have anything else you want to follow up with, now's the time. And
I have no objection to putting some of the conditions in the approval, should we vote in that light. I'm basing my opinion, as Peter said, not on personal involvement because I don't live in that area, but on the facts that have been presented by both the town and the applicant. And it appears to me that there is no adverse impact to the intermittent waterway, which is what our purview is, and not the road and the water that's already going into the road. I mean, that's where I sit on this. We're supposed to be exercising our role under the state statutes with respect to an adverse impact to the wetlands on the property or in the upland review area.
Okay. So this is where we have commissioners who have expressed an opinion in favor of an approval. How if the commission so decides as a whole to vote in that direction, it should be the commission's obligation that we have commissions or conditions that can address every commissioner's concerns. And this is where, so far I have a maintenance schedule needing to be provided. And we can have them codify, responsibilities, how often these responsibilities or the, responsibilities need to be held out, so on and so forth. Then we have snow removal. And perhaps anything else that the commission needs to, have addressed. So ultimately, I'm just looking for a consensus here, whether we're going for an approval or denial, and what can be added to either to supplement that decision.
So this is Greg. Maybe it's my inexperience, but for the life of me, I just don't believe that we're not going to add water to that it's not going to be an increased flow of water. You can put down whatever you want on paper. You can do whatever figures you want. I just don't see it. I don't see how that is possible. And again, I am not an engineer, and I just look at a 0% increase, and I just don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. I just can't with a good conscience, say that this is gonna not adversely affect that intermittent water stream and cause problems. So that's all I have to say. I'm done talking about it.
This is where expert testimony is of utmost importance. Our engineer counts as an expert. If there was some kind of comment to that effect, they would have put that in writing.
So regardless of what they say and all the engineers say, I'm going to vote with my conscience.
So we've heard from, I think, Ken, did you have any additional comments on this, Ken?
Nope, I think I just made myself pretty clear.
Laura?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay with the resolution of the approval with the comments in it as well.
With the conditions that we've been discussing thus far?
Yeah.
Okay. So it seems to me, Ken, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that it's yourself, and Mr. Samardak and Ms. Ferguson that are in favor of approval, and Mr. Parafort and Mr. Johnson that are in favor of a denial.
That would be what I heard.
Okay.
And I think I heard, and I don't want to speak for Patrick, but there were certain conditions he wanted to include in that approval. One is that you recommended the maintenance schedule and a monitoring report. I don't know that we can, and David, I have to defer to you on this. I don't know that we can require maintenance of a pipe that doesn't belong to the property owner. I think that we have to take up with the town on our own if we have concern with it.
Well, are you talking about the pipe itself, or the condition of the intermittent ditched water course immediately preceding the pipe?
I'm talking about the pipe. I've heard several conversations about cleaning out the pipe, which I don't think is the responsibility of the owner of the property. They have, and their engineer have proven or shown to us that there's no increase in the runoff into that intermittent waterway based on the calculations presented in the studies done. Mr. Parafort, Patrick, I'm sorry, I'm sure I pronounced your name incorrectly.
No, it's fine.
Had mentioned early on in the call this evening and in previous calls that he would like to see some commitment on maintaining the pipe that the intermittent waterway dumps into. And I don't know that that's appropriate for this commission to address.
Okay, so let's.
So if I can, Dave, just to be clear, I agree 100% with Ken.
Okay.
Love to see that pipe do, but that's not the applicant's concern. There is no pipe for that water course on his property. That would be a concern for the town and a whole different conversation, different venue, whatever that would be. When I made simple enough maintenance schedule, keep the pipe within, keep the debris free of the pipe, or keep, that the opening of the pipe free of sand and debris. It doesn't have to be every week. It could be, yearly, keeping that something very one line simple. Again, the pipe itself, soon as the pipe starts, that is the responsibility, not the responsibility of the applicant. I agree 100% with Ken.
Okay, so let's embellish in this maintenance schedule. The reporting that needs to be done, the monitoring that needs to be done, because that sounds like the two the elements of greatest substance with this maintenance schedule that you're looking for. So let's go into the monitoring aspect here. Let's dive into that for a minute. So when it comes to monitoring, your main focus obviously would be when it rains. If the commission recalls, there has been language that has been used for when an applicant has to report the conditions of existing conditions of an area after a certain event. In terms of what event that is, or furthermore, what accumulation results from that event, that's up to the commission's discretion. So if you're saying it's a 25-year storm, if it's a 50-year storm, that's up to you. Or if you want to define it by the amount of rain that falls, if it's 1 inch, if it's 2 inches, the commission can say it's the applicant's responsibility to monitor the condition of the stream or the intermittent drainage ditch, excuse me, after X or Y event. And they have to then go into this segues into the reporting element of it. What are they going to do with that information, or what are they going to do with that? This is where I get the direction from you guys to say what are you looking for, and then I can come back with you and present that to you.
Let me ask a question, if I may.
Go ahead.
My memory may be faulting us my years advance, but I thought that the primary length of the intermittent drainage ditch fell on the neighbor's property and not on the property that's subject to the application.
It shouldn't matter where the intermittent drainage ditch.
But where I'm going with that is,
Go ahead.
if we are going to require a reporting schedule, which I'm fully in favor of,
Mhm.
I don't know that we can require maintenance of that ditch on someone else's property. That was my question. Can we do that?
I don't see why that would be an issue, because ultimately, how could you expect for someone to take care of exactly one half, or somehow bifurcate an intermittent drainage ditch? Whether it's
My question is, I'll say it differently. Does this commission have the authority to give someone permission to go onto someone else's property to
This
act
is-
under an approval that we give from this commission? I don't think we do, but I defer to you on that.
Okay, so this is where you could have the applicant bear the responsibility of it. It doesn't matter where the intermittent drainage ditch lies, and which portion is on their property and which does not. It's in their best interest to have the intermittent drainage ditch function the way it should. So this is where you put the onus on them to craft an agreement or something in writing to codify whether or not they have access to someone else's property. If they should, I can't imagine why they wouldn't be granted access, because ultimately the maintenance is going to be beneficial to and themselves and any abutting property owners.
Well, I think what I'm hearing you say is that in order to do so, they would have to have an agreement with the other property owner.
I don't see why that couldn't be achieved.
That's conjecture. The question is, can we impose that regulation on an entity who doesn't own the property that the intermittent drainage ditch runs across? I don't think we can. That's the question.
Ken, when I'm thinking maintenance schedule, yes, I would love to see them maintain the entire stream. I know at the first meeting they said it was theirs, and then when I asked for the maintenance schedule, they revised it and said it's only half theirs, which I have a concern with. But I'm looking more of the inlet to that pipe, not the pipe itself, but like, let's say the first 2 feet prior to the pipe, maintaining that at a certain level.
So can I say what I think I just heard you say, Pat?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
That one of the conditions for approval would be the responsibility of the property owner to maintain and keep debris free X number of feet of the intermittent drainage ditch prior to the opening of the town-owned culvert.
You worded so much better than I do. Yes. Debris meaning sand, dirt, and debris. Yes, that exactly it. That gives, like Peter was saying, personal ownership of that part. Again, behooves them to keep the whole thing clear. But again, if it's shared, if it was all owned by one, I would say the whole thing. But since it's shared, I understand exactly what you're saying there.
Okay. Can I have you rephrase that for me again?
Not on your life. The condition of approval would include the applicant and the property owner's agreement to maintain and keep clear of debris the intermittent drainage ditch X number of feet prior to the opening of the town-owned culvert. Don't ask me to say it again.
Nope.
I'm just kidding.
It's okay, it's recorded anyway.
That's right. Go.
It is being recorded, Peter. You are right. I just want to make sure that if I'm going to view this in the future between now and the 24th, that I'm understanding what's being
And
asked.
And Patrick, that is, did I summarize what you were articulating earlier?
Just debris would be sand or dirt as well, but yes.
Okay.
And I want to be clear, it doesn't mean I necessarily will vote in favor, but it clears up some of the concerns I had.
We're not focused on a vote, we're focused on
Right.
conditions.
Okay.
in
Yep, no,
the
absolutely. Thank you.
letter, if we should vote to approve it. Greg, are you comfortable with that statement?
Sure.
And I know you had some concerns with runoff, but I don't know that we can address that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can, and I don't know if you can change my mind. So,
Well, I'm not asking you to change your mind. I'm trying to state the facts. I don't.
so have we discussed snow removal yet? Because I'm in complete agreement,
That-
like Pat, it would have to be totally removed. There
Okay.
would be no snow on, because you're looking at just running right into that intermittent waterway. And that's a lot more than what it normally would be.
Okay.
And it's not going through the water treatment system. So there would be total removal of
So-
snow from the site.
So to circumvent any extended discussion about snow and what can be done with it, let me just say that I will craft a condition to address the ability for the snow to be taken off site for snow events. And
Let me ask you on
Go
that.
ahead.
On that note, I would recommend, and just, me from shoveling my own driveway, I would recommend that when you put that condition in writing, that you restrict it to a certain accumulation of snow or greater than a certain accumulation of snow.
Okay.
And Ken, when you're talking, that's exactly what I was just gonna say, to be real. Are you talking like snowfall accumulation or a height accumulation of pile?
Excellent question. I was thinking overall accumulation of snowfall.
Just
I,
because I'm thinking that's a huge area and they're putting it all there. Let's say you get 3 inches of snow, you could get a, I don't know, huge pile sitting there versus, obviously if there's a lot of snow, then
Maybe it's worded something to the effect of any snow accumulation that would result in snow storage in excess of X inches of snow in any given point. I mean,
and that's why you're the law.
I would have to ask David to come up with the right wording for that because
I think that the intent that the commission is shooting for, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is addressing snow events in terms of total accumulation. So in other words, if you have a snowstorm where you have greater than X number of inches of snow fall with an associated snow event, and when it's greater than X number of inches, the snow has to be taken off site. That's how, that would be my suggestion for how the commission would want that condition crafted.
So Dave, my only concern with that is it's a huge parking lot. It's all going in one spot. You could have, and again, I don't know, what we consider a low amount. And if I was to pile all in one spot, you got a huge pile. That's why I'm worried about the height of the pile of snow. Again, just something to think about while you're crafting.
Well, because it shouldn't be about the height of snow, because I am no expert in snow and flakes and what have you. But the best way that snow should be measured isn't by the height of a pile, it should be by its volume, the
Okay.
volume of water that results from it.
okay, perfect.
Agreed.
And this is where if you have a condition that addresses snow from the accumulation aspect of it, that's where you're most likely to have that volume factor, if you will, be of greatest substance. Because it shouldn't, you shouldn't have to try to be subjective about how someone stockpiles snow. That's, I think that would be a bit too much. Let me
Okay.
let me craft this language for you guys for the 24th. We can play around with this more then, but I think I have plenty of direction with which to go with for the snow removal. So we have those two conditions right now, that ones that are, I would say, unique, if you will, to this application, which is the maintenance schedule and the snow removal. Are there any other items that the commission would want to discuss at this time?
So let me just, if I may, Greg, did the snow removal condition cover your concerns, or did you want to add something in addition with respect to runoff? I know you're very concerned.
No, because my other concern is either believing the report or not believing the report. So there would be no condition that would make a difference in writing.
I just
It's
want to
either,
make sure
it's either I
that table.
believe that there's a 0% or I don't believe. And right now, I don't believe, and I just don't believe it. So it won't make a difference.
That's absolutely your prerogative, and I just wanted to make sure we had that out on the table.
Okay, so let me just get a consensus of the commission again before we move on. I think, Ken, we've done the deliberations that, rather the commission's done the deliberations that it needs to. Let me just get a consensus of the commission again, just to be clear. Ms. Ferguson, yourself, Mr. Stevens, and Mr. Samardak would be in favor for a resolution of approval. The only applicant or commissioner who appears to be Not so at this point would be Mr. Johnston. I'm not sure about Mr. Perrefort, but either way, for the commissioners that are, for the members that we have tonight, it's to my understanding, we have a consensus for me to prepare a draft resolution of approval.
So Dave, just one thing, that 6-inch pipe coming off the back of the property feeding into the stream. Again, it's up to commission, but I like to see that in some type of detention as well, because it's no longer going over pervious soil. It's going directly into the stream. And again, I have to give this some serious thought because again, I'm with Greg on this.
Okay. I will certainly
believe
include
that
that
you're-
in the conditions.
I believe that your statement is accurate, and unless anybody else on the commission wants to challenge that, then I think we should move forward.
Okay. I will, for what I am able to do to address your comment, Pat, I will do my best.
And thank you for taking into consideration. Thank you to the other board members as well for listening and debating it with me.
Yes, well, you are most welcome, and this, you shouldn't feel singled out in any way. Ultimately, this is for the entire commission's benefit. So, and that should be the sentiment for anybody and for every
Pat
commissioner here.
speaks more eloquently than I do. I'm just a cranky old guy, so thanks for putting up with me.
They were all in trouble.
So Greg, I said to my wife, Cranky Ken's going downstairs to get on the call.
Okay, so we have it, for what I understand, a consensus of the commission for me to draft a resolution of approval for the May 24th meeting. Yes?
Yeah, with the conditions that
Right, of course, with the conditions that have been discussed tonight, of course.
Ken Stevens, chairman, says yes. Do you need a vote from everybody? It's not a vote.
There's
You need
no
everybody
motion
else to
needed.
agree verbally.
Oh, yeah, well, sure, yes.
All right, Peter,
As in Dave's
Yes.
eloquent words, oh, yeah, sure, yes.
Gregory,
I'm not sure how I'm supposed to respond to this, if it's a yes or I'm adamantly no against this project. So
I think, and you speak for yourself, but I think what we're being asked to say is the commission in support of David drafting a resolution of approval with the conditions we have discussed. The voting of such resolution will occur at our next meeting.
Correct.
okay, draw up whatever you want, buddy.
Okay,
Patrick,
I'm willing to review and consider such a document.
Laura,
Yes.
thank you. So David, thank you very much.
you are welcome.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is 117 Chestnut Ridge Road. It's a 2-lot subdivision with a new driveway and associated site improvements within a regulated upland review area and regulated wetlands area. We accepted the application on March the 22nd, and we opened the review on April the 26th. We're to continue that review this evening. So
Okay,
we
so,
did,
so go
David,
ahead.
David, I don't recall, and I apologize to the chair, to the members of the commission. Did we discuss a site walk? And if so, did we decide not to for any particular reason?
I don't think a site walk in this instance is warranted, Ken. And I would say that on the premise of, during our previous meeting, we had reviewed, the location of the on-site perennial watercourse and the location at which it would be directly impacted with the creation of this driveway. And I think with the photographs that have been provided, with the aerial imagery that we've been able to see, I can't figure out what a site walk would be able to help us ascertain at this point, on top of what we already have.
I just wanted that on the record. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. I think from the discussions that were had between the commission and the applicant, that the commission's in a position to vote on this application, or render a decision, if you will, based on the applicant having addressed comments from Wright Piers Engineering, having addressed comments from myself, and having responded to questions that were asked by you, the commission, during the site plan review that we opened on April 26th. I don't. There's nothing more that's been added to the record, and for what I recall, there was a consensus for me to have a resolution of approval drafted for tonight's meeting.
Dave, just so I could ground myself, this is the property with the, I'm going to call it man-made pond. Is that the one?
I'm not sure if it's man-made, and instead of trying to figure out whether it's man-made or not, let me just pull up the plans, because I have those.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's the same one.
Engineer for the applicant indicated at our last meeting
It's the
that
same one.
a man-made pond.
Oh, okay.
Probably created for the watering of cattle at one time up here on Walton's Mountain.
Yep, I got the right one. Thank you.
So these are the areas that we're looking at here. The regulated upland review area is light green. The wetlands is dark green. The regulated activity is the pink. And where they're going to be placing the proposed culvert, for lack of a better words, is here in blue.
Any of the commissioners have any questions on the proposed plan? Okay, in light of that, and I would ask if anybody on the commission is in favor of making a motion to approve the application. And if so, are there any conditions upon which that approval should rest other than our standard criteria?
See how
And
walked away to grab a drink. I'll make a motion to approve the application with the normal stipulations, as this will not, as we find this will not have any adverse effects on wetlands or water courses. One stipulation that I would suggest adding, which would probably be done anyway, that all the work, like creating the bridge, gets done during the dry season.
okay.
I think that was part of the plan.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think they mentioned it. That's why they're pushing.
Yeah, I'll second Pat.
Before we vote on this, can I present for the commission's benefit a draft resolution of approval which I have prepared?
Certainly,
Okay, thank you.
if there's no objections by the commission members. Go ahead, David. I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, that's okay. Got to keep me on my toes. I appreciate that.
Somebody has to, anyway.
Okay. So this is a draft resolution of approval that I have prepared for 117 Chestnut Ridge Road, IWC-2021-04. For right now, the conditions that you are seeing here, numbers 1 through 6, are standard. To the effect of there being a direct adverse impact to or a direct impact, I shouldn't say adverse, a direct impact to the water course in the form of the culvert, the commission could so opt to have a condition included where a monitoring report of the culvert and its condition be provided for X number of years, or something else to that effect.
Say that again, David. I'm sorry.
So this is just a suggestion, if you will. The conditions that are shown here with the draft resolution of approval, they're only our standard conditions, if you will.
Right, that I got.
If the commission wants to include a condition about the culvert in the form of a monitoring report or something else to that effect, I think it's in the commission's rights, if they're so inclined, to include that.
Ken Stevens, Commissioner. Based on the size of the culvert and the flow of the water down that stream, it might be advisable to have such a condition.
Okay.
For the other members. Everybody's gone quiet.
No, I agree. For, so many years or so, absolutely.
Okay. Well, for how many years would the commission wish to have a monitoring report provided?
I would suggest twice annually for the first 5 years.
And 4.
Okay. And what would that be from upon the issuance of a zoning compliance certificate, or from when we have a letter of substantial complete from when the zoning permit's issued?
Can we do it from the start of the construction? Which has already happened.
Okay, and I also want to clarify that too, Ken. I think the conditions that you are seeing, those are not on, those are not associated with the proposed development. They are, and I don't mean to skew off briefly, are what you're seeing, Ken, behind a brown house by chance?
Behind, next to, and in front of,
A brown house.
which is the current structure on the property, which I didn't take my tape measure over there, but from my eye view, it appears that it would probably fall into the 100-foot upland review area.
Okay, I would say I'd be more than happy to address that activity for whatever extent it needs to be addressed.
My only concern, David, and I hate to cut you off, but just in view of timing, my only concern is that if an applicant has started doing work in an upland review area prior to the commission approving it, it should be addressed.
Right, but this is where I want to try to embellish for you, Ken, and just bear with me here for a second if you don't mind. Let's see here.
And David, I leave it to your discretion too, if you want to visit the site and determine whether that has occurred, or if I'm seeing things is entirely up to you.
You're right. Well, I'm not saying you're not seeing things, because I drove by the property myself this afternoon to try to confirm what conditions are out there. So this is 117 Chestnut Ridge Road. This, to my understanding, is that brown house, if you will, where these activities are taking place. For what I understand, they're taking in their location is in immediate vicinity of this house for which my cursor is circling. Now let's go back to the site plans.
So just for clarity, if you put your map back up for a second.
Okay. Yep.
Where your arrow currently is,
Yep.
there has been a large amount of soil removal.
Right.
There has been a large amount of rock brought onto the site, and there has been many trees taken down around the perimeter of the property.
Right, but this is ultimately what I'm trying to get to, Ken, is that this work that you're seeing here, it has nothing to do with the application. But
time out, and maybe I'm misunderstanding. Regardless of whether it's work to construct the culvert and the driveway, which is the subject of the application. If it's work going on in the upland review area, it becomes part of our concern. If I'm wrong, then fine, tell me that and we'll move
No, no,
on.
no, you are absolutely right, Ken. But because that activity is not associated with what's being proposed with this application, its discussion should be held later on in this meeting. And I say that because where my cursor is now, that is that brown house that you're looking at.
Yes, I know.
So I would say the area that's being circled by my cursor here, that is just for this property that's shown here in or the property that would be created as a result of this re-subdivision. And it has nothing to do with what activities would take place for this house, which is whose activities for clearing, at least this area proper outside of the URA, and have nothing to do with the culvert crossing. Your comment is absolutely valid, Ken, but it doesn't have anything to do with this application, is ultimately what I'm trying to get at.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So to get back to the condition, I have a comment about a monitoring report being provided to the commission twice annually, for a period of 5 years from the start of project construction.
From the construction that's subject to the application.
Right.
Right.
That should go without saying, but if you would like me to embellish that, I certainly can.
I certainly would.
No,
Okay.
don't embellish. No embellishment, please.
Okay. So let me word this, and I word this more for myself than anyone else. The commission is requesting that a condition in the form of a monitoring report to be provided to them twice annually for a period of 5 years from the start of project construction for any and all regulated activities associated with this application be provided.
Yes, with one more additional comment.
Okay.
Twice a year doesn't mean this week and next week. It probably means the spring and the fall, or
Okay.
whatever date you feel is appropriate, but I think it needs to be clear.
Okay. I would say you would want to have a monitoring report before your season where a perennial water course is most productive. So I would say you would have a report granted or given at the beginning of spring. So that would be March 21st. And then you would have a report to make it to level out, if you will, to avoid having two reports being given in a week. I would say you would have one given September 21st.
And can we put in there that that's incumbent upon the current owner to pass that responsibility on to any subsequent owners within that 5-year time frame?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Including leap year.
Okay, so let me rephrase this again. The commission is requesting that a condition to the draft resolution of approval be added in the form of a monitoring report to be provided to the commission twice annually, that is on March 21st and September 21st, or within a period of 7 days of such, for a period of 5 years immediately following the start of project construction that's associated with the regulated activities from the property owner. That is not to say just the applicant, it's whoever owns the property.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
do I have a consensus from the commission that I'm getting that correctly?
Yes,
Burdette,
Yes,
Okay, very good. And let me just confirm, Laura, are you back with us?
Yes,
Okay,
my computer froze, so I had to restart it.
okay, just wanted to make sure you were being, you were listening in on these discussions. Any other conditions that the commission wants me to add?
just Dave, you might be on there. It was small. I couldn't read it. Just again, construction during the dry season. And I know they had mentioned it themselves, but in today's environment, how things are being sold so quickly, I'd just like to make sure that's noted on the permit in case the property gets sold.
Sure, I mean, it's in the site plans, but if the commission wants to embellish or just have
No,
that
if-
reiterated,
No, as long as it's on the site plans, if that's well enough, then I'm good with it.
it is on the site plans.
Okay. That's fine then.
Okay. So with that being said, let's go back to the draft resolution of approval. Okay, just pull up my screen here. So this is pretty much boilerplate. The first 6 conditions, that is, and then you would have a 7th condition with the monitoring report. So that would be 7 conditions total. And then your criteria for decision would, or your reasons for this decision would fall on these 3 items here that are listed beneath that.
yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
None for me.
Okay, this is yes, no's, because I can't see you guys on my screen.
no questions from me.
No question.
None
No.
from me. All set.
Okay, so I'm, Ken, was there a motion on the floor for this? That was already seconded?
I made the motion.
I think it was made by Peter and seconded by Greg,
Okay,
was that correct?
I believe I made the motion, Patrick.
Okay,
Patrick motioned, I seconded.
okay, thank you.
okay. So then if the commission's in a position to vote, I would say you can vote on this this resolution.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
I can attest to the fact that all commissioners have voted aye.
Okay. So I guess that would be a so moved then, yes, Ken?
So moved, thank you.
Very good. All right. And now to,
New business,
yes.
that would be you, David.
So we have an application that is being brought more in a formal sense before the Inland Wetlands Commission on the basis that the property where activity in the form of a subdivision is taking place has a wetland and regulated upland review areas. For what I understand, and based on the site plans that are being shown to us, the project itself does not include any activity within a regulated upland review area or a wetland for that matter. So this would be a declaratory ruling. And I could have the commission vote on the declaratory ruling or the language that I would present to them at their next meeting. I just wanted to bring this to your attention tonight so that it didn't come out of the blue when we discuss this during our next meeting on the 24th.
Dave, what's the location?
31 Sunset Hill Road, and I will pull that up for you here with my Google Drive. Okay,
Hey, David, this is Peter.
go ahead.
If there's no regulated upland review area and it's not in the wetlands, why are we entertaining this?
No. There is a regulated upland review area on the property. And there are regulated wetlands on the property, but the distinction is that there are no activities on either site that's associated with this application being taken place.
Is this purely
So-
subdivision and no application for construction at this point in time?
That's to my understanding. What you're seeing here on these plans is more or less just a proof of concept that
See the
these,
plan yet.
what's that?
Can't see the plan yet.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. These are the plans here. So you
Thank you.
have, you're welcome. So there are 2 lots, one of which is here and one of which is here. You have regulated wetlands areas, which are from what I understand, this shaded area here and this shaded area here. The upland review area, which is shown here with this arrow, this call out, if you will, it extends to this dashed line on this property, and it extends to this dashed line on this property. With the activities that are being shown to be taking place on each of these lots, these areas will not be disturbed. So when there's an activity on a lot that takes place where there are wetlands that aren't disturbed, the commission does what's called a declaratory ruling to in essence say, we acknowledge that there are wetlands on this property. We acknowledge that the applicant does not intend to disturb them with their proposed development. And I would have the language that more or less formalizes that presented to the commission during the next meeting on the 24th.
And do you put language in there that if such plans should change and there will be any disruption in the wetlands or the upland review area, the commission reserves the right to re-review the application?
Absolutely, that's correct.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
No, but thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome. I'm sorry if that came out a bit garbled at the beginning, but that was ultimately my intent.
Okay, next item on the agenda are the minutes from our last meeting of April the 22nd. I would ask for a motion to approve.
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the last wetlands meeting.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. So moved.
I would just clarify that was for the 26th.
I thought I said that, sorry.
That's okay.
I said last meeting, excuse me.
That's okay.
Next item, staff comments and reports. David, I think that's you again.
Yes, it is. Let me get to the agenda here, if you guys will bear with me. Thank you.
So while you're looking that up, do we have to vote on the minutes?
We did.
Oh, okay.
You blink, Pat, I saw
I
that.
must have.
I think we did, Pat.
I heard the motions. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Just for the record, all in favor of approving the minutes from our April the 26th, 2021 meeting? Aye.
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 Okay, all commissioners have weighed in with an aye. Thank you very much.
Cool.
I'll sleep better tonight. Thanks, Ken.
To get back to the staff comments and reports, most of these items that are on the agenda are housekeeping in the form of determinations and permit applications for pesticides from DEEP. They have no, there's no decision that's waiting on from us for these. These are matters that are handled administratively through DEEP, and they just report them as kind of like a CC, if you will, to us. The last item I have on there, which is CBA, that stands for the Connecticut Bar Association. I had the privilege to attend a bar association meeting that was very informative. And if you guys would like me to pass on any materials that were presented, to staff members such as myself. I'd be more than happy to pass those on to you. I think some of the case studies and some of the discussions that were held were very insightful, and they're very helpful to anyone who serves on a commission, regardless of what capacity.
What I would suggest, David, is maybe you put them on the Google Drive, and any of us who want to review them can take the opportunity to do so.
Sure, I can even email those to you guys. They're not associated with any meeting, so I can just email those to you guys and have them for your reference.
My
anytime you
recommendation
want.
for putting them on the Google Drive was that seems to be the repository for information for us at this time. And I, for one, get more emails than I can read.
Oh, okay. If the commission wants Google Drive, Google
Yeah,
Drive it
I think-
is.
I think that's a great suppository for that, as long as there's pictures.
It's a pository or repository.
Um,
Oh, it's time to call it an evening, I think.
Either way, I will have it for you.
Thank you.
Other than that, I have no other items to report this time.
Okay, thank you, David, very much for your time, effort, and energy for our special meeting. Look forward to our seeing our resolutions and recommendations at our next meeting. And I would ask for a motion to close.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second,
all in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
So moved. Thank you all. Have a good evening. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
See you guys.
Looking
Right.
forward. to-
Thank you
looking
very much, everybody.